Many spend their days passively searching for something interesting to do. Others dig in and find it. While nothing is certain, anything is possible. And the anticipation leads you into action. Because it's here that adventures begin. Stories are unearthed. Secrets are revealed. Fortunes are found. Mysteries are solved. And the past is brought to life. Nothing valued is ever lost. It's simply waiting to be discovered. So here's the question. What are you looking for?
Tis Thursday, tis 8 o'clock, and it is the big detecting show. Good evening, Adrian. How are you? Adrian, you're on mute. Am I on mute?
No, I am.
There he is. Hi, Adrian.
Yep.
How are you?
You all right, Dave?
Technical hitches of the big detecting show. I'm well.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm absolutely positive I forgot to do something and I can't put my finger on what it is. So if I haven't done it, it's not going to happen. Good week. Been out?
Dave, you know what I've been doing? Decorating. Yeah. Decorating. I did go out. Yeah, did go out, but been busy decorating the house. This is the problem with our hobby, right? At the weekend, you want to go detecting and you forget when you're working in the week the housing manager needs things doing, and I needed to decorate the hall, stairs, and landing. So that means I've got Saturday and Sunday detecting as a bonus. So yeah,
decorating your hall, stairs, and landing. I've heard a gynecologist can do that through the letterbox.
I'll tell you what, if I was a lady, I would have looked like I was seeing a gynecologist. I had 1 foot on the banister, 1 foot up there. Right old mess. But yeah, it's done now. It's done. So I'll be out this weekend.
Well, I've had an interesting morning today, Adrian, before we bring our guest on. I've had a very interesting morning. Oh, God, look at the hair. It's terrible. It's got to come off. Well, back to work next Thursday anyway, for one day, and then it's Easter holidays, but there you go. We're coming up to the launch of season 2 of River Hunters, which is on the History UK channel. And we were asked to interview one of the members of the team. So this morning I interviewed Gary Bankhead from River Hunters, archaeologist, underwater archaeologist, amateur underwater archaeologist, firefighter, and many other things. And it was a very, very informative interview, which we'll get put together and sort out. Will be out within the next week, leading up to River Hunters. And I was also asked to let everybody know that World War II relic hunters, I think, without looking at my phone, it's going to be running Easter Sunday, Easter Monday, I think, back-to-back episodes on the Blaze channel for those who haven't seen it. And finally, for me, anybody who's on Facebook or watching on Facebook, please will you consider sharing tonight's episode, which you're watching on the stream, anywhere you think people will watch it, simply because I've got a 3-day ban and I'm in Facebook jail. Therefore, unfortunately, I'm unable to share the link. So thank you to those doing so already. But there you go. Isn't it? No, Rod, it's not a lockdown haircut. It's the first time in 15 years I've had hair. I just want to grow it to see what it looks like. That's all.
Shawaddy waddy.
Shawaddy waddy, yeah. Let's go for a little walk.
Dave, Sorry, did you ask River Hunters if they wear Speedos in the summer?
Oh, do you know, that's the one. Well, it was done in the summer, and it's the one question I forgot. I'm so sorry, Adrian. But
that's all right.
I can assure you, I've spoken to Gary, and hopefully he'll be coming on the show to discuss not just River Hunters, but his entire involvement in archaeology, river hunting, underwater archaeology, and metal detecting as well. He did have high praise for metal detectorists as well today. So
yeah, anyway, well done, Dave. Big show, Sky, and they're talking to us.
Absolutely. Look at us.
Well done, mate.
And next week we've got another big guest from World War II relic hunters, Mr. Stephen Taylor. So we're looking forward to that greatly as well. Anyway, without further ado, good evening to tonight's guest, Anni Byard. How are you, Annie?
I'm fine, Dave. Thank you. It's Byard. How many times? Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing it the Hyacinth Bouquet way.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah. I haven't said the one I usually use though, have I? So I'm doing quite well.
No,
I haven't done the Michael Jackson song at all.
If I had a penny for every time.
There are other things we could discuss, which I'm sure we'll come to during the evening.
I'm sure there might be. Yeah. Fingers in ears time.
Oh, look at our standing jokes already. Annie, it's a pleasure having you. We spoke to you several times before during the Detectable Special episodes, and I've been promising to ask you onto the show, and finally you're here. So thanks for coming along. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions tonight from people in the chat room, which I'll probably miss. Karen Becker's saying, woohoo, yay, gorgeous Annie.
Hi, Karen. I'm other hand. Hi, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Do it with both hands.
I know. It's the cameras in a weird place.
Do that. Oh, it's not working again.
No, thanks for having me on, Dave. It's a
pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
So, Annie, if you wouldn't mind, obviously some people won't know who you are. Can you tell us about yourself, please?
So I am an archaeologist. I started off in commercial archaeology in about 2000-ish, 2001, after doing a degree at Liverpool University. So I was a commercial archaeologist, which, means roads and pipeline, did lots of pipelines. And then I left the company I was with in about 2007 or 8 and joined the Portable Antiquities Scheme. And I was a Finds Liaison Officer for Oxfordshire and West Berkshire for 11 years. So I left in 2020, just doesn't count, does it? 2019, I think. And undertook, because I fortunately got a funded PhD looking into, the title is, it's not very sexy, to be honest, the Iron Age to Roman transition in Britain from the perspective of coin hoards. So basically I'm looking at Iron Age and Roman coin hoards. And I also work for Oxford Archaeology part-time as their small finds metal specialist. So
sounds rather dandy. Bit of a big CV going on then.
It's. I mean, sometimes I look at. I hadn't had to look at my CV for ages, and I looked at it and went, "Oh, it's not too bad. It's not too bad." So yeah, about 20 years in professional archaeology. So getting there. So
what led to you studying archaeology and becoming an archaeologist?
Well, I had a bit of a strange entry into it. So I was at school, obviously, and I left school at 16 after my GCSEs and went to college in Oxford to study media because I've always loved film and stuff like that. When it was a brand new topic, so it wasn't like the cheesy thing to do. I didn't get on with it. Dropped out of college, went back to sixth form. Didn't get on very well with sixth form. To be honest, I was kicked out. So I worked for a little while, and I wanted to go into the media. But didn't know how to do it. Went back to college, did media for a couple of years. And I had an internship at CNN in London for about 9 months. And I was putting together TV shows or like adverts, I guess, for World Business News, which is exciting as it sounds. And during that, I was putting together something about Egypt. Ancient Egypt, and I'd always been interested in Egyptology. But when I was a kid, when I was about 14 or so, we had, the careers woman with her big 80s shoulder pads, power dress, power suit and all that, come to school and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And actually my first choice was a carpenter. And she said, don't be stupid, girls can't be carpenters. Pretty gutted, but only young, so believed her. And she says, well, what else do you want to do? I said, well, I'd like to be an archaeologist. And she said, well, that's not a real job. So I was kind of at a loss. So that kind of explains the next 3 or 4 years of dropping in and out of education. But when I was at CNN, I was editing this news piece together, and I could go into their library and find loads of information or loads of clips like of the pyramids. And I didn't really know what to do with my life. I didn't really like CNN. It was incredibly bitchy. And I was speaking to a friend who was at Liverpool University, and he said, well, you can do archaeology as a degree. Now, my careers teacher and my teachers at school had never said that archaeology was a proper career. So I looked into it, and fortunately I'd got the grades at college, and I went and did archaeology almost on a whim, I think. Had no idea what I was going to do after. I didn't know at the time that you could be an archaeologist. It was a proper job. But during university, obviously, I met people, got on digs and stuff like that. And then when I left uni, got a job locally in Chester because I was living in Liverpool, and that's where it went from. So a bit of a bumpy ride into it. It certainly wasn't something that I thought I could do, if you see what I mean.
Do you know how small the world it is, Annie? I'm from Ellesmere Port, so okay. I've spent a lot of time looking at the archaeology and such like in Chester. Yeah. Our paths may have crossed. In fact, for a while I was part of Mark Ollie's team doing digs with Mark Ollie around North Wales. So we paths may have crossed.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
Nice part of the world, that. Nice part of the world.
It's interesting though, Annie, you've had what I call life experiences. You haven't just gone straight into it, and you've had different jobs, and you know how the world operates, as I would say it. But the careers teachers, I hope they're better today, because when I was at school, we did a multiple choice questionnaire, and I came out as a career as a butcher. and I'm not a butcher, and I've got no interest in becoming a butcher. But that's where they led me. They said that I should go and be a butcher. So maybe I should have done, looking back at it now. But yeah, it's totally bizarre. But yeah,
Adrian,
it's good though.
I'm an aircraft fitter by trade. You should have seen some of the butchery I done.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, but it's so when you were working as a fines liaison officer, how many years were you doing that, Annie?
About 11. Yeah, about 11. Yeah.
And when did you give up that or move on?
2019. Well, I tried to leave in early September, I think it was 2019, and then Mark Betcher went and found a hoard. So it kind of got extended a little bit. So I think, well, it wasn't paid for obviously, but I think I finally turned my back on PAS in the nicest possible way in I think October 2019, which is when I started the PhD as well. Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of comments in the comments saying how missed you actually are. So you've obviously made a good representation of yourself there.
I just had a look and I just seen Stan's lad. Hiya, Clint. I miss Clint. And I do miss the artifacts, but I miss a lot of the detectorists as well. And I just Stan's lad coming up, Clint. I do miss the people in detecting, because now I'm a student again, and also lockdown. I don't see anyone, so it's quite lonely. So it's nice to see some familiar faces coming up on the chat.
Well, we'll get on to it later on, but we do know you have been out and about a little bit while lockdown's been on, or maybe not so much lockdown, but the pandemic. And we have seen you out and about, but we'll get on to that later, no doubt. Yeah. And possibly the future of other areas, maybe.
No, not going there. Not going there.
I'm not. No. I was not about that. Oh, but we will come to that.
Yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening.
So you enjoyed your time as a flow. Do you think nowadays that when you in 2019, was it getting busier? Because nowadays there seems to be obviously more and more finds being unearthed and pressure on flows. Do you think it's in the last few years you were doing it? Did you see an increase in finds from detectorists?
Yeah, I mean, Oxfordshire's a busy county anyway. It's very rural. It's quite central, so it's sort of a bit of a magnet for the big rallies. In fact, my first day on the job was at a Weekend Wanderers rally up near Wantage, and it was carnage because it chucked it down and nobody could get their cars out. There were tractors pulling cars out. It was a complete mess. But it has certainly got busier, or it did get busier, probably in the last 5 or 6 years that I was afloat. I mean, it was busy anyway, but it certainly got a lot busier with a lot. I've just seen Jim come up. Hi, Jim. I miss you guys. So it's the Wessex guys. I do miss a lot of the detectorists, a lot. They were really great people to work with for over a decade. But sorry, going back. Yeah, the fines kept coming in, and there were points where I'd have to say I can't take any more. I can't do it, and I think that's something that all flows have had to deal with over the past, decade or so. Which is great that more and more people, are coming forward wanting to record their finds for prosperity. That information is so important for research, and what I'm doing now, a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at comes from detectorists. But it is a very, very busy job, and you've only got one pair of hands. And yeah, I think it's increasing. I know lockdown's been a bit strange for a lot of flows as well, and obviously, like you guys, you weren't allowed out, you couldn't get out. But yeah, it's certainly, from my experience, was just getting busier and busier.
It's interesting because obviously I declared a find in 2020 didn't exist, did it? 2019, and I was quite surprised in this day and age how antiquated the process is. Lots of bits of paper, no sort of I know we dream and we'd like an app on our phones to be able to do it, but it was lots of forms and filling in things. Did you find that a bit tedious at the time? Did you think there must be a better way of doing this or a more efficient way?
Yeah, I mean, certainly with treasure, it is labour intensive, as you say. For people that don't know, say you find something that could qualify as treasure, you report it to me. I probably take the find in, so you get a receipt for that. Then I have to fill a form in for the British Museum. They give me a treasure number. Then we write to the coroner to officially declare the find. And then, we write a report. It might need to go to the British Museum for expert analysis or something like that. And then, the report is approved. And then it's sent to the coroner. He then holds an inquest. And then you've got the whole process that if it's not disclaimed, if a museum want to purchase it, then the museums then have to try and raise the money, because museums, they don't have pots of gold lying around. Yeah, it is time consuming. I think one of the problems is that the process, you're right, it is quite antiquated, but it's kind of not really the PAS's role. PAS didn't have the money to be able to invest in high-tech databases and that kind of thing to make it faster, but there's certainly sort of work afoot trying to speed the process up. Actually, one day when I first started I think it was 2008, there was a really long time lag for treasure cases in Oxfordshire. I mean, like two years plus, which is a long time to get your half of a medieval fingering back. It was a really long time, and there was a lot of sort of negative comments and stuff about the process. And when I looked into it and I contacted the coroner at the time, the problem in Oxfordshire was because of the soldiers coming back from must have been Afghanistan, I guess, and they would fly into Brize Norton, which is in Oxfordshire. And because they were repatriated to Oxfordshire, the Oxfordshire coroner would have to hold the inquests. And obviously, the soldiers' inquests were much more important than half of a broken fingering. So there was that really long delay. But then it sort of started, obviously, after the war finished, it started to speed up quite a lot. I mean, there are problems. The coroner's got to do other things as well. And that's why I think, a treasure coroner would really help speed the process up. Flows try and do it as quickly as they can. And the British Museum, that's a sort of ticking box kind of exercise. But a treasure coroner would really help speed things up, I think. Yeah,
that's exactly where I was coming from, actually. Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think also with COVID, I was wondering this the other day, talking about museums being able to buy finds or stuff, with the museums being closed now for well over a year, obviously they've not had any funding, or do you think that's going to affect on their budgets for being able to buy stuff in the year ahead or going forward?
I'm not sure about sort of the buying stuff. I mean, affecting a museum generally, it's going to have a huge impact, sadly. And a lot of museums are free, and we kind of forget that all this stuff is sort of done for free. You can give your £1 or your £5. I mean, a lot of museums, they have sort of friends of a museum, that or people that pay a subscription, something like that. So small things they can probably find the money for, if it's 60 quid or 100 quid. But for some finds that are, thousands of pounds, they usually will apply to grant-giving bodies, so national bodies or even regional bodies, which they hope, to be able to get the funding for, I don't know, a coin hoard or something like that. But of course, that then takes time as well. I mean, hopefully it won't affect them too badly on the smaller stuff, but I think some of the larger stuff, it might be problematic. That
sad.
It is sad. That income just hasn't been there.
I'm just picturing sort of a medieval ring in some gangster's villa in Spain that he bought for 4,000 quid because the museum couldn't afford it. So,
yeah. And that, to be honest, that does happen often. That you'll have something that's amazing. You know, let's say this gold medieval fingering, and the museums just don't have the money or can't raise the money, and so yeah, you know, it ends up in the gangster's villa. It is sad, but in some, I mean, COVID certainly made things worse. But that problem has always been there. Yeah.
right.
Can I just point out that we don't condone gangsters on the Big Detective Show?
No, that's why I said, Dave. That's why I
Yeah.
said we don't want them having our medieval fingerings.
Absolutely, we don't condone gangsters.
Or mine.
Yeah.
But
and your finger as well.
yeah, on a finger, a ring on a finger. Yeah. No, it's and in regard to the flows, the best, you know, people on here tonight in the chat obviously hopefully know their flows, but if they don't, where can they find out where their local flow is or who they are?
Yeah, so these, I mean, there's a flow in pretty much every county. Some flows will cover 2 counties or a county and a half. The easiest thing to do is just go to www.finds.org.uk, so finds.org.uk. When that page comes up, there's a tab along the top says contacts. You scroll through that and you'll find your county's flow with all their contact details, and just give them a bell, or at the moment, obviously, most people are working from home, so just send them an email.
I'm glad we actually touched on Finds Liaison Officers and the Portable Antiquities Scheme, because there are so many people that you see moaning throughout social media that they haven't had the ring back, they haven't had the coin back, etc., etc. But as you've just explained, each individual item has such a lengthy process of recording it and going through different processes that it takes you time to get to the backlog. And I would suspect the backlog, as you've probably seen or know about, is quite large in most counties. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, when I was flow, I'd have people's fines that I'd had a year, and they were fine with that, by the way. But yeah, there's a backlog, and if you do like museum surgeries, like I used to do, most flows, you know, when we were allowed, and clubs as well. So I used to go to Wessex and Newbury and the Oxford Blues in Oxford. They would kind of be, for me, the priorities, trying to get them turned over every month. So if a chap turns up with 500-600 fines from last year's detecting, you know, you have to say it's going to take me a year to get these done. And you know, most people are absolutely fine with that. But yeah, there are backlogs, and I think once we come out of lockdown and things are back to some sort of normality, that there will be a backlog of you know, people bringing their stuff to the flows, and I think the flows are going to be inundated, which is good. But also, you know, there are lots of fines and lots of people, and I think that's just important to bear in mind. You've only got one pair of hands, so you do what you can.
Have you got a turkey there?
No, sorry, it's my daughter.
Your daughter's a turkey? Room.
No, she's like, she's just got home from work, and she obviously had a very interesting day at work, so she's reconstructing it in the lounge. Annie, in regard to the length of the fines being processed, I think we all understand that flows have a lot of stuff to do, and some are busier than others. But take, for example, I've been waiting 2.5 years now, and I haven't got a problem with that. But my issue is that I have to email my flow on her email address. She has to email me back with an update. It would be so much better. I know you're not working for them anymore, but I'm just saying how I envisage it. You submit a request, and there's almost a website that gives you pending or in process or gone to this next stage. And I find that there's so many antiquated processes. Having to email your flow directly, she has to get back to chase someone up, get back. It's a bit of a faff, I think, because I know they're not as big as a Royal Mail or Next or anyone to have an online portal for tracking deliveries or anything like that. But I think there's so many areas of improvements they could do for people to just know what's going on with their find. Especially, I mean, obviously I write for Treasure Hunting magazine, and I can talk to people and they say, it's with so-and-so or whatever. But for people new to the hobby, it's probably a little bit frustrating because of the lack of communication. And I'm basing that on my flow in Essex, who's no longer there now. She's left in February, so we're currently without a flow. So if a flow's not there, do the fines still get processed in your area, or are they held back? What happens normally there?
Yeah, so just to answer that last question, yeah, if there isn't a flow, then usually it will go sort of straight to the British Museum and they'll process it for you. But you're right, that sort of delay is frustrating, especially for new people to the hobby. They might think up all sorts of reasons why it's taking so long. A few, like I said, I don't work for the PAS anymore, and I think really this is something that should, but no, it's okay. But a few years ago, I've lost count of years. There was talk of trying to make exactly what you said, like an online tracking system, so you could sort of log in and you could see where your treasure find was in the treasure process. I mean, just talking about treasure here, not normal finds. And to be honest, money was always a bit of an issue because it's sort of the funding's kind of capped and it's gone down and down and down over the years. So resources and funding was always an issue. But as far as I know, that was something that they wanted to do. Obviously, I don't know where that's got to, but it's certainly something to bring up with your flow. They might be able to give you an update on what they're planning to do.
Hopefully, thanks, Annie. Hopefully, when I get one, I can meet them. Sophie. Yeah, she was lovely, really nice.
Before we move on from Fines Liaison malarkey, we have a question, and I thought it was a great question. I've not heard this one. I've not even thought of it myself before. It's from Rich Parkinson. Yeah, Annie, if the end of a farmer's field on the cliff edge falls into the sea and a detectorist finds treasure on a beach, who legally owns the artifact that may have come from a collapsed field? Put her on the spot.
Not being a flow for a very inland place with no cliffs whatsoever. Honestly, I don't know. I guess, is it Crown Estates? I don't know. You'd have to be able to prove, I guess, that the coin, for instance, came from the farmer's field at the top.
Yes.
I'm assuming, rather than had eroded from a cliff at the bottom, if you see what I mean. I don't know. That's a really good question.
There's your homework for this week, Annie.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I would think Crown Estate, because it's found on their land, as assuming that part of the beach is Crown Estate land, because it's found on their land, I would assume, but I could be wrong. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Ask your flow. Yeah.
Get in touch with Michael Lewis and ask him. He'll know.
Yeah, no, honestly, Michael or the treasure team at the BM, they're always really helpful. I would go with Crown Estates if it's found at the bottom of the cliff, but I don't know. No idea. Good question.
Obviously, moving on from Fines Liaison, because, appreciate you talking about it. I know you're not a Fines Liaison officer anymore, but hey, decent questions to ask. I'm sure people will be more than happy with what you said about the FLOs, and they should be supported. Whatever, we shouldn't be giving them any grief because they've still got our fines. It's a big bloody job.
It is. It's a massive job. I'll be fair. It is a massive job, and it's very stressful. You've got people calling you. A lot of. I used to find sometimes that, especially new detectorists, would think that the Roman coin that I've got of theirs is the only object I have. I'm like, mate, I've got 6,000 in the cupboard. I'll get to it in turn. So please do support your flows and just realise that they've got a lot of stuff, which is great.
And keep on reporting.
Yes, absolutely. Please do. Helps me.
Yeah, fair dues. Moving on to commercial archaeology, you said you've been involved with multiple projects throughout the years. Tell us about some of them, Annie, and how you got into the commercial side of archaeology.
So it's a strange beast. So we call it commercial archaeology. So basically, it's so if planning permission goes in for a road or a housing estate or whatever, something like that, quite often there'll be an archaeological condition, which means that through detecting finds, for example, that we know that there might be something going on, or aerial photography, or we know that there's a Roman villa there, for example. So you get these planning conditions, and archaeologists go in and check it out. And I got a job. So just after I finished university, I got a job in Chester it was meant to be sort of Roman, but we had to go through the 19th century, not slums clearance, but it wasn't far off before. So I started as a digger on £12,000 a year. Archaeology is notoriously badly paid. And my friends who got jobs, normal jobs, were on twice that. But anyway, so I started working on that, and then I moved back down to. There's a job that came up near Abingdon, which is where I'm from, in Oxfordshire, and it was I think a 3-month contract, which is very typical in archaeology. You get very short-term contracts, and it's called the dig circuit. So you move around the country a lot, especially when you're kind of just starting out in archaeology. So it's a hard life. And I got this job on a pipeline, big pipeline that was going through the local area, gas pipeline. And basically they have a strip. So this is about 40 meters wide, and they put the pipe in the middle of that strip. I'm not quite sure. It must have been, so it's a Chargrove to East Ilsley pipeline. So I'm trying to think how far that is. 30 miles, I would say, maybe not 25 miles, something like that. So there's a big strip all the way along. And basically, as archaeologists, we go along and record what we can. If we find an archaeological site, then we'll excavate it. It's called preservation by record, because obviously it's going to be destroyed. So if we don't record it, then there's no history of it. It's gone. It may as well not have existed. And that was good. That was hard work. That was 12 hours a day. And lots of people think like archaeology, like you see on Time Team, is just like some brushes and a trowel. If only. It's mattocks and spades and wheelbarrows, and it's a very physically demanding job. Very, very physical. And when you find something that does require a trowel and a brush, you're like, thank God for that. Because it is very hard physical work. It's glorified ditch digging, I suppose. And we found some cool stuff. Lots of kind of late Iron Age, early Roman rural farmsteads. But on this one project, the Chargrove to East Ilsley pipeline, which has been published actually, so you can look it up. The last day, always. I mean, I don't know if anyone's worked on pipelines either, but these pipes are 6 foot diameter. They are massive. And the machines that they use to put them in the ground are enormous. I don't even come halfway up a tire. They're huge machines. And as Sod's Law has it, every archaeologist knows this, on nearly the last day of the dig, you always find the best thing. And you've got these enormous machines coming towards you, and you can't get in the way. They will just squash you. And we found this ditch. It was underneath the spoil heap, part of it. And I was looking at it, and I started picking up bits of pottery. I was going, this is Iron Age pottery. And so I had a bit of a scrape around, and I went and got my supervisor and said, I think there's something down there. And we found this ditch, which was probably about 3 meters long, not very wide, 50 centimeters wide or so, just completely crammed with Iron Age pot, animal bone. We found a spearhead as well, iron spearhead. And what we think it was some kind of feasting episode, a bit of a party. Everyone's chucking their stuff in the ditch. And it was nearly the last day of the dig, before these enormous machines came in. So that was a really fun thing to do, but that panic. And then so I ended up working with this company for about 5 years, and they specialized in pipelines, the gas pipelines especially. So for about 3 years I was out at the Brecon Beacons doing a 120-kilometre pipeline out there, from a place called Turley in Gloucestershire through to Brecon, so a long way. And we found all sorts of stuff. We found a Roman road that nobody knew existed. And yeah, there's so much stuff to talk about. And it's great when you find something that nobody knew was there, especially a Roman road. It was paved. It was great. We found a silver fingering on top as well, which was very exciting because archaeologists don't often find sort of precious metals and metal things. It just doesn't happen. But unfortunately, as soon as we tried to lift the ring, it just disintegrated, which was slightly embarrassing.
Can I ask a question, Annie?
Yeah.
Obviously, these pipelines, there's a lot of money ploughed into it. If you came across something of national significance where the pipeline or a house or another building was being placed, would you have to take that into account and perhaps move the lineage of whatever it is and take into account the archaeological feature?
Yeah, it never happened on any of the pipelines that I worked on. We found some regionally significant archaeology, but this comes back to this preservation by record idea. It doesn't happen that often that they reroute, because that, you're talking millions and millions and millions to reroute a pipeline, or look at HS2, they're just going straight through the middle of all sorts of ancient things. But the village that I grew up in has a Saxon hall, or Saxon halls, about 3 or 4 of them. We've known that they're there for years and years, and somebody wants to build some houses on the field adjacent to it. It wasn't scheduled or anything because the farmer wouldn't let anyone on his land. But when this house builder came along, they did some archaeology and found that the sort of hall complex was wider or bigger than they thought. So the site is now scheduled, and the planners have had to go back to the drawing board and redesign their development so that it doesn't impact on the monument. It doesn't happen very often. It's got to be really, really important to move something like that. Yeah, that's
interesting. That's something I've always wanted to know, but I've never bothered looking.
It doesn't happen very often at all. So they might go for full excavation, and that's expensive, but it's nowhere near as expensive as rerouting a pipeline or a road.
One of the viewers tonight, Stephen Pettican, was actually on the South Hook to Gloucestershire pipeline. He's a pipe welder from 2007 to 2009.
About the same time I was. Oh no, it's a bit earlier for me. I think it was about 2003 to about 2006 or something. But yeah, so he'll know, how big these machines are, and you don't get in the way.
And I also wanted to say that Iron Age man parties far outstripping our current parties as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they are having a good time. They really were. Yeah.
Adrian, for last week's show, if you remember, we were talking about me putting some coins in a Gladius solution from composite cleaning pencil. See what I've done there? Forgot again. I've not been on my computer all week, and I've just realised that it's still in the fluid, the Gladius. And the Gladius, it's honestly, Annie, it doesn't. The Gladius is made to not affect anything in that way. I've took them out, and they are absolutely pristine. Features on them I couldn't see before, and the water is just acid green now. But absolutely stunning. No, it doesn't do that.
It's a very. I don't know what it is, but it's. You can even drink it. I think, Dave. Not that I'm condoning that, but it's not toxic and it's environmentally friendly, and you can reuse it, but it doesn't take the patina off. But it's a very good question Dave brought up, which I bet in the years you were going back to a flow, or just nowadays, the amount of times someone will bring in a Roman coin or something, and I've cleaned it with brown sauce, it's lovely and shiny. Did you get many of those people coming in ruining artifacts?
Yeah, in the early days, definitely. And you pick a coin up, and you're like, "What have you put on it?" It'd just be flip out of your hand. It's like, "Oh, a bit of olive oil," or a bit. Coke as well. Coca-Cola was a good thing. Sorry, other half is just come and gone. He's stolen my drink. I hope he's going to fill it with gin. Anyway, Coca-Cola was a favourite. Olive oil. I had when I first. Thanks, love. When I first started, I met a guy. I think it was in Newbury, and he'd found they're sort of candlestick holders. He thought they were crossbow bolts, but that they weren't. And they were iron. They were a bit flaky, and nice finds actually. but he'd submerged them in what's it? Is it Yoo-hoo? Is that the name of the glue? Is it Yoo-hoo
Yes.
glue?
Oh God.
Oh dear. it was awful. I've seen all sorts of atrocities. I really have. I think the thing is, it's lasted 500 years or 1,000 years or 2,000 years. Just leave it alone. It'll be fine. But yeah, I've seen some nasty things. Yeah.
I've got some images that I've acquired from the world of the internet, just for us to have a look at. Some of you in the trenches and some other bits and bobs. Luke, could you share the screen, please?
My Facebook page, haven't you?
Only for one or two. Only for one or two. The others are just general looking for Anni Byard on. See what I've done then.
Yeah.
See, looking on a Google search.
Right.
I have no idea what I'm seeing because I haven't got the other computer on tonight. But can we see Annie with a spearhead?
No.
Let me go back. There we go. Let's share the screen again. I must have cancelled it.
This is when I got a blue scarf on, is it?
That's the one.
Yeah. This was not quite my first day at work, but probably the first couple of weeks. Look how young I look. Oh, bless. Oh, for the past. Yeah, that was in Oxford Museum, and I can't remember what the spearhead was, but yeah, it was an iron spearhead. Yeah, that was found. I'm trying to think of the age. I think it was medieval. Can't remember. It was from dredging out of the Thames, and a guy had gone along. They dumped this a few years, ago, because they haven't dredged for years, and he'd had it in his collection for about 10 years or so. And he'd found it with a detector, but he was just detecting the dredge.
Wow. A fine collection.
Yeah, this was something for the Oxford Mails. This was it's obviously about treasure. These were some of the artifacts that detectorists had found that the Oxfordshire Museum had acquired. And the one on the left, as you're looking at it, that one is God. I've recorded 17,000 objects, and I'm trying to recall details about individual objects.
What was the second one you ever recorded? I'm joking.
I don't even know what the first one was I recorded. To be honest. No idea. Or the last. Oh, the last was Mark's hoard. The one on the left is I think it's 9th century mount. So it's gold. It's got lots of enamel in it. It's beautiful Saxon mount. That was one of the first treasure cases that I took on. It was with the previous flow. But yeah, all these are things that were acquired by the Oxfordshire Museums from detecting finds. So the next one along is a little sword pyramid. It was silver gilt. The next one, I think, is a bracteate, which is I don't know much about them at all. Weird 6th, 7th century sort of coin, but not a coin, almost a pendant. And I think that one, the story is anyway, who am I to comment, that this was bought at a car boot sale. A guy bought a box of watch bits and had some, bits of gold in it for the watches and cogs and all sorts. And at the bottom of the box was this. He didn't know what it was, and he brought it to the Ashmolean. And my colleague John Naylor, this is sort of his period, just fell off his chair. So incredibly rare, very, very, very rare, and in really good condition. Found in the bottom of a box. Wow. At a car boot sale. Yeah. That one is so that's probably 13th century silver brooch, or is it a buckle brooch by the looks of it? And the one on the right, I can't see it properly, but looking at it is a sort of Tudor hook tag kind of thing. Left a bit, right a bit. Yeah, so that's 15th century little hook tag. But yeah, so these are all the things that, not all, a handful of things that detectorists have found that the museum was able to acquire. And, they're now in a public collection. You can go and study them, look at them, have your photo taken with them. And they also appear on displays as well. So the bracteate and the silver tag, yeah. They've all been on display in the Oxfordshire Museum in Woodstock.
Fantastic. And I do like your Freemason
My
gloves
funky
as well.
gloves. Well, this is what always makes me laugh, to be honest, because we never wear gloves. We only do it for the cameras. We do, honestly. And this was a few years ago as well. This was at Littlemore in Oxford, and the villagers had got together and they started doing little test pits in their gardens, and we had a day in the village hall where the villagers would bring their finds and try and tell them what they had. So most of it, as you can imagine, was sort of Victorian stuff, but the kids were fascinated.
I can imagine.
By it. Yeah, because to a kid, 200 years old is really, really old.
To a kid, 46 is old.
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah. And this is a while ago too. So that's John Naylor, my colleague I was talking about with the Braccia on the right. This is at the Ashmolean. And this is the Finds ID surgery that the Ashmolean hold once a month on a Wednesday. When the museum reopens, the new Oxfordshire Flow, Ed Caswell, will be doing these. So basically it's where you come along and you bring your finds and we try and tell you what they are. If they're recordable, we ask to borrow them, kind of normal flow type stuff. We do get quite a few people coming in with sort of heirlooms and stuff that, they've found in grandma's cupboard, and all sorts. And because it's the Ashmolean, there are experts in every field. So we quite often used to get a lot of kind of Far Eastern pottery, which we know nothing about. But we'd be able to call down the people from the Far Eastern department, and they come and have a look. We also used to get people coming in with Egyptian stuff, which you're always slightly concerned how they got it. You're like, where did that come from?
And that's why I so desperately want to visit that museum, to visit that department.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So it's great, and it's a really great resource. It's free as well. We'd have people coming from all over the country, even people from Liverpool, getting the train down to come to the Ashmolean. But yeah, so when that starts again, the new flow will be holding fine surgeries. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Dave, I've just got one question from Annie. Sorry, one question from the chat from History Unearthed. Paraloid B72 is the best to preserve your coins. Is it used by flows, or was it when you were there, or do you know of any?
Right, so flows, we don't do conservation or preservation. That's not Flow's sort of remit. That would be a professional conservator. I mean, I was fortunate enough that where I was based and where the new Flow is based, at the Museum Resource Centre at Stanlake in Oxfordshire, that they have professional conservators there, and I know that was used a lot, but it's not something that Flows really get involved with.
That's what I thought. Yeah. No, thank you. Thanks. Just one quick question: when you were working on the pipelines and that, how often did you find the construction workers were interested in what you were doing and sort of getting involved in finding out about the history under the soil? Because I know if I had that job, I wouldn't get anything done, because everything I dug, I'd be out there looking at it. But did you find that people were genuinely interested in what you were doing?
It's a difficult one with the pipelines. I mean, if you're doing what they call strip map record, so that basically you're taking the topsoil and stuff off and you're standing in front of the digger and making a record of stuff, and you found something, then yeah, quite often the digger driver would come out and say, oh, what's this? But once you've found something and you've stripped an area and it goes to excavation, there aren't any construction workers there. So it in some ways it was a bit sad that people weren't there to see it. But in the canteen, we'd often get the digger drivers coming up and asking, "Oh, so what was that thing?" We had a few naughty lads who would come on detect the site when they weren't meant to.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes we'd get back from like lunch break or something. There'd be bloody holes all over the site. You'd be like, "Guys, come on!"
Petican.
Oh no.
Annoying.
Petican's already admitted he was there.
Well, yeah, there you go. Watching you.
Yes, that's it, Dave. Did you use detectors at all at any point, or do you?
Not well. I mean, we know we're going back 15 odd years ago, or longer than that. Years ago, no, not at that time. We didn't. It was still seen as a very much kind of anti thing, like the detectorist versus archaeologist kind of thing. It just wasn't, even like searching spoil heaps, it just wasn't done. The first time that we used a detectorist, I was up on a pipeline in Hull. And so let me think, that's probably 2006. And he was a local guy, knew the area. And I had to shadow him. My job was to shadow him. And it felt really awkward, to be honest. But now it's getting more and more common that archaeologists will use detectorists rather than a metal detector themselves, if you see what I mean. It's getting much more common, but I think there's still a very long way to go. I'm all for metal detecting surveys. I think they're really important, especially with the plough soil, because on the pipelines you just strip off the top 30 odd centimeters and chuck it to the side and not think anything of it. And we all know that plough soil can contain an awful lot of historical information, but it's getting more common, definitely. And there are things afoot to try and make it more common, like the IAD, for example, that want to sort of embed this in every archaeology practice. But I think there's still a tendency just to sort of detect the spoil heaps rather than actually detecting the ground before you strip it, which is what I'd like to see, sort of proper metal detecting surveys involved.
Yeah, I agree. No, thanks for that. Yeah.
So we're on a site here. Can we still see the pictures?
No. Oh, look at
Can
that.
we bring us back?
This is, look at that, so young, slim. This was somewhere, I think it was a place called Hole in the Wall, which is in Herefordshire. It's on the Herefordshire Welsh border, and this was on the big Brecon to Turley pipeline, and there was a huge ditch, Roman ditch, and this is a nearly complete mortaria that came out of the section. As always, they're always in the section. So the section, you see the tape behind me.
Yeah.
That's a section wall, and that was half in, half out. Always the way. it just happened. So yeah, that was so Roman. Yeah, lovely Roman find. That.
How do you actually determine the area to dig? Where you said that's the wall. What determines that being the wall?
Not the wall, so the section. So basically,
the section.
Yeah, it's just an archaeological term. So you might do geophysics, for example, beforehand, that shows up a load of features. And this is what we call an evaluation trench. So this is before it goes to full excavation. So it's kind of like a very long test pit, really. So you can see features on either aerial photography or through geophysics. So you kind of align your trenches to try and hit those features, so you can determine what they are. And that's what this is. Quite often, if it looks like it's a building, you'll try and get corners of buildings. If it's a series of ditches, again, you try and get the corners. And that's what this was. This was a trench. You can see it's not particularly wide, and not the easiest to dig in either. This was a ditch, part of a Roman ditch of a farmstead. So we think about sort of 2nd century AD. And as you can see from that picture, the pot is half in and half out of the section. Yeah, typical. But you can't leave it. You're like, I'm not leaving that. This is the road I was talking about. So what you can see in the background are the Black Mountains in the Brecons.
Yeah.
Out the back. So this is another evaluation trench. So basically, we did some geophysics and we found some anomalies. So we put a trench across to try and catch these anomalies. And the bit that I'm sitting on, lots of archaeologists go, "You're sitting on the archaeology." Very bad practice. You can see all the cobbles behind me. Well, that's part of the Roman road that nobody knew existed.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where the silver ring was discovered too.
Yeah, a bit further down actually, but because we did a few trenches across the road. But yeah, that's the road that nobody knew existed. You can see it's paved. not the best photo, but it had some really nice kind of flagstones and then ditches either side as well. It was really nice, but you can see how high it is. You know, that's probably what 30 centimeters below the ground level. So it's survived remarkably well. You can see it's a pasture field, but it's been ploughed in the past, so it's done pretty well. God, you're taking me back now, Dave. Crikey. That's my Mortaria. Yeah, with a hole in it. And the really annoying thing about that is, well, not all the time, but a lot of Mortaria have the maker's name on the rim, on the big outside rim. Quite often there's a maker's stamp, and just my luck.
It was the bit missing.
Yeah, it's the bit missing. Yeah, typical. Yeah, that was a nice thing. That. Yeah.
What was it actually? How do you feel when you actually discovered that particular item?
I think, to be honest, it's kind of like how, you know, you guys feel when you pick up that coin for the first time. You know, you're the first person to touch it in that case, 1800 odd years. And yeah, it is special. It is special. I mean, you know, you guys all know that feeling as well. And I don't think it changes if you're a detectorist or an archaeologist and you find something cool, like a bit of broken pot. Yeah, it was really good because a lot of the time, you know, you're digging holes and you are digging with mattocks and spades. It is hard work, and most of the stuff is just tiny bits of pot. But when you come across something, you know, that's nearly complete, it's fantastic. And knowing that the last person that, you know, threw that or touched that lived, you know, 1800 years ago. Same as you guys, you know, when you find stuff.
Yeah.
I will. I'll message you tomorrow probably and tell you about my inadvertent discovery of a Roman road.
Okay, cool.
I'll tell you off there because if any archaeologists are listening, I'll be scorned.
I am still an archaeologist, you know, Dave.
Now, moving on. EU and a certain Hugh Dennis.
Yes. Oh, this was fun. So this was a random email, like completely out of the blue, in September last year, asking if I'd be interested. And then I was like, yeah, definitely, sounds fun. Because obviously I have an interest in TV. I'm not just a media tart. I like television. I like the storytelling aspect of it and putting it all together. So I got this email and arranged a sort of Zoom audition, I guess, with one of the researchers. And then, yeah, so went up. So that was filmed over about 5 days in late September, early October last year. So still in, were we in lockdown? I can't remember. Feels like
that was between lockdown 1 and 2, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was still a lot of restrictions. Although restaurants were open, I seem to remember. Well, I went to one. Yeah, it was really good fun. It was very strange because obviously you had to do all the social distancing, and you know, trying to show stuff to people when you're 2 meters away and explain stuff when you know it's that big isn't the easiest. But no, it was really good. A really good bunch of people. So Tash and Chloe and Richard and Hugh, you know, all really enthusiastic people. It was in Nottingham, place I don't really know that much about. It's called Lenton Priory, which I knew nothing about, which was built, I think it was 11th, 12th century by, I'm trying to remember now, William Percival. So this place would have been absolutely enormous. And the whole sort of pretext of the programme is, you know, they don't want to be time team. They're not going to be time team. It's about getting the community involved. And I really like that angle. So they literally knocked on people's doors and said, can we dig a hole in your back garden? Because we're looking for this priory. And they found bits of it. What isn't shown on the TV programme is all of the kind of Victorian stuff that we found, which was loads. I think we must have found a butcher's shop or a butcher's yard because the amount of animal bone was insane. But no, it was really good fun. It was nice just to be out, to be honest, somewhere else. And TV is always fun. The crew were brilliant. The you know, the presenters were really great, and the local people too. They were so enthusiastic about what they were finding, and you know, no idea literally what's under your feet. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that, for those who don't know, is the Great British Dig. which should, I don't know, I think it's finished airing now, but you should be able to find it on E4 or whatever the 4 thing is. It'll be on there. What's the thing for 4? The on-demand service.
No,
is it?
Well, it was aired on More 4, but you can get it on the catch-up thing. I think it might also.
What's it called? Yeah, someone will know. But anyway, very good program, as you say. A lot of community involvement. You see them knocking on doors. You see people's pristine gardens getting dug up and all sorts of. There was one episode, I can't remember what it was, when they were in a pub beer garden and we're digging up bones there.
yeah, and the landlord. There's always a pub involved. There has to be. You're archaeologists. There has to be a pub somewhere. It's just the rule. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't the episode I was in. I think it was the one previously.
Yes.
And yeah, the landlord was like, I've been sat having a pint on top of this bloke for years, not knowing that there was a burial underneath him.
Fascinating.
Brilliant.
Are there's this is you in your work?
Oh yeah, so this is
Oh, there we are.
Well, this is for, and thank God they cut this bit. So I'm looking at this. You can't really see it. This thing that I've got in my hand came out of one of the trenches, and
you can't see it.
Well, actually, when I tell you what it is, you'll realise what it is. And I'm looking at it, going, I haven't got a clue what this is. And there's some kids that came past the trench, and they were like, "Oh, it's a door knocker." Pardon?
Is it?
It looked like ET.
I thought it was a stirrup.
Yeah, but not. I'm looking at. I'm holding it this way and that way. Didn't have a clue. And the guy on the right, you can see there, one of the crew. He went, "Isn't that a bike brake?" I'm like, "Oh."
Yes, I can see it now.
Yeah, see now you can see it's a bike brake, and I'm looking at it going, well, it's not old. I don't know what it is, but holding it the other way up, and yeah, it was a bike brake.
Did you respond and say, "Well, no, mate, never had a bike. Get yourself out of
it." Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
And then the final 2 images I've gleaned are your 2 of your books.
Only 2. Yeah, I've only done 2. I've done lots of papers, but not books. Yeah, so these were really great to do. It was, I can't remember which flow it was that first was approached, I think, by Amberley Books, who are the publisher.
Was it Vanessa Oakden?
Yeah, it was
with
Vanessa.
50 finds of, which one is it? It's up there
Stafford?
somewhere.
No, not Stafford. Where
Manchester and Merseyside.
I'm looking. I've got most of them on the bookshelf, and I can't see which one she is.
I think it was Manchester and Merseyside, because she came to me from one of the finds that was found on a dig that I organised. That's in there, so I think it was that one.
Yeah, and so she sort of put an email around to people saying, "Look, does anybody else want to do this?" And of course, lots of flows went, "Oh yeah, that'd be great," because we've got Oxfordshire, for example. I mean, it's over this now. I don't know, it was 30,000. Maybe there's 35,000 finds, and that's a lot to go through. Just sitting there one evening on the database. So it was a really great opportunity just to highlight some of my personal favourites. So yeah, there is definitely a bias in there, which I think there is with all flows. But yeah, it was really great to be able to highlight some 1099. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the Berkshire one too.
Get it, buy it now, bargain.
Buy it now. There you go for it. Yeah.
From Amberley Publishing, or I'm sure you can get them cheaper on Amazon.
Yeah, you probably can, or eBay, secondhand, people chucking them out. No, it's really good. I mean, to be fair, they are pretty basic books. It doesn't go into a lot of detail because it's not the format of the book. It's more about pictures and a little bit of background information. So it's not sort of in-depth archaeology, but I think they're really great to highlight some of the nicest finds from all the counties that have done the books.
Not only that, Annie, but it also, again, with the finds identify book 1 and 2, they do help people identify some of their own finds that they've put to one side, not knowing what they are.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, I know. They're not all shiny stuff. In mine, there's quite a few shiny things, but there's sort of normal things too. So that's good to know that people can use them, and it's also sort of especially for like local people that because it says which parish finds are from, that they might not have known that are really important, like the one on the front cover of the Oxford book, the West Hanny brooch. Some people might not know that was found just down the road, and it's important. It's a nationally important find. So it's kind of also highlighting local history to people that might not detect or might not know much about their local area.
I think that's a good point, because books are published. Unlike the internet, you can publish something and change it or delete it. A book, to be published, has got to be accurate in theory, and finds identified too. For example, Michael Lewis had a lot of input in that, and there's a hell of a lot of research gone into it. And still to this day, I'll go out detecting, find something, and forget that I've got a book which will help me identify my find. And so many people will just post something on the internet, and it could be a door knocker, and someone will come back and say, "Oh yeah, that's a Roman stirrup," or something ridiculous, and then you go away thinking, and I'll preserve that, I'll look after that, and I'll hand that down to my grandchildren, and it's a 1974 door knocker. So I think it is good to get, well, if you go to your flow, it's the best option at the end of the day. But books are...
Books are the way I'm just looking here, all my do you want to see my bookshelf?
Go on.
Because right, okay, so I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and hang on, bear with, sorry. Can you see?
Is that all? Is that all you've got?
All finds all the way up. I don't know, there's most of my books are downstairs, but there's probably 150 there which are just finds based. So all books about artifacts, and you really can't beat a book. But as you said, Adrian, the flows are so good at their jobs. They've got such a wide knowledge, and we can't all be specialists in every period. If you think that the PAS records stuff from 400,000 BC right up to sort of 1700, that's a hell of a lot to remember. And if they don't know, they'll go find it. But books are brilliant. I've seen the same on the internet, people saying, "Oh, it's one of these." You're like, no, it's not.
No, I totally agree. It's one of those things that it annoys me sometimes. I make mistakes like everyone. I have a find, like I showed you that, didn't I? That weight, and I thought, oh, is that medieval or is it Roman? And
probably Roman.
Probably Roman, but that's good enough for me. But there's certain things you just, I don't know, you need to refer to a book. I don't know what it is. Everything's internet based now, but your flow or a book, that's what it's all about. Exactly.
And the thing is, we all learn from each other as well. I'm not particularly great at sort of Saxon stuff because I just don't see much of it. Roman stuff I'm all right at, pretty good at it. But there are some flows who see lots of Saxon stuff and are brilliant at it. So, and by everybody recording and talking to each other, and the Tetris too, obviously, that's how we all learn, and we all build on everyone's knowledge.
What is your favourite period, Annie?
I'm going to have to cut the conversation because we're about to go over to the Diggers Dips draw. Hasn't tonight gone quick? So, Luke, if you could share the screen. And I couldn't connect to you a moment ago.
I feel like I'm in the pub, chatting to people.
Hello.
It's weird.
It's nice, isn't it?
Hello.
Just chatting away. Yeah. Am I allowed to go to the loo?
If you want.
Thanks. Yeah, you got to pick a number, though, between...
For some reason, it isn't sharing yet, but the draw has started. So
go on, Annie.
I'm watching it. Go and have a wait, because when we come back, we're going to have a look at them images that I sent you previously in the week, that hoard of unknown artifacts.
Oh, those, the weird one.
Go in the toilet.
Going.
So for some reason, this isn't sharing. I have a missed call off Mrs. Higgins, who I presume has taken over the show from Mr. Higgins, who'll probably have to go to bed because of work. But Adrian, number 13, and there's 46.
What, you're 13?
Yeah.
37.
And for first place tonight is a cleaning pencil from thecleaningpencil.com. Fantastic. And the first number is 02. And you can go on the Diggers Dips website and see this yourself if you obviously can't see it currently. It's number 22, and that's Golden Graham. So you've won a cleaning pencil courtesy of the Composite Cleaning Pencil.
Enjoy.
Yes, fantastic bit of kit. So well done on that. Second prize tonight is 10 Diggers Dips tokens. Adrian, number?
7.
35.
Annie needs to emulsion under those cupboards. It's bugging me. She's left it there. She seriously needs to.
It's 01. Number 17. So second prize tonight is Mr. Aaron Weedle, South Coast Detecting. Well done, Aaron. 10 Diggers Dips tokens to yourself. And finally, it's a free entry into any of the current or possibly future draws. So I'll go for number 5.
11. It's not as exciting, is it, Dave?
It's just not happening, is it?
No.
It's number 4. This is one of the highest numbers we've had. Number 4. On one of these draws, the big competitions, we usually have a hell of a lot more. Obviously, it's 43. So entry into any draw, McShocko. So first prize, a cleaning pencil, Golden Graham. Second prize, to Aaron Weedle's 10 Diggers Dips tokens, and entry into any draw to McShocko. So thank you to Diggers Dips, and thank you to the Composite Cleaning Pencil. Well done to all the winners. And same time next week, although it will be a little bit late, the competition being added. It won't be until Sunday afternoon when my current ban ends.
What did you do?
Don't forget.
I want to share all sorts of claptrappery and nonsense. It was a share of some claptrappery and nonsense. That's the best explanation I can offer.
Facebook will wonder what's happened when you go back to work next week, Dave. They'll think, "What? Mr. Sadler's really pleased we've told him off because he's really calmed down now." Yeah, but also don't forget the Detectival raffle. People to head over to Detectival website. That's Equinox 800 and Vanquishes and Pinpointers, and all the money goes to a good cause. So don't forget Detectival.
Yes, please, I think that you'll find that at detectival.com. And I'm not 100% because I haven't got the information in front of me. It might be the live Saturday night draw. Is it next weekend?
April it's April the 1st next week.
It is. Yeah, I can't do anything after 12 o'clock. So it'll be not this Saturday, next Saturday, that draw. Don't forget, tickets will soon be out for Detectival June 12th and 13th in Oxfordshire. And following that, the September 12th and 13th in Wiltshire. So, Luke, I'm trying to share the screen again to show these images. If not, that's unfortunate. So nothing's happening. So we must have a technical issue. Yes, Karen's confirmed it is next Saturday the 3rd. I've lost track of time. Right, sadly, we won't be able to look at them images, but the images that we were going to discuss will be in the readers' finds at the end of the show. You'll be able to find them there, and there are one set of finds in particular is absolutely head scratching, isn't it, Annie?
Yeah, Dave sent me some pictures of some pretty odd stuff. Do I say what they are? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they were a couple of, at least it looked like it from the photos, like little lead cauldrons, like toy cauldrons kind of thing. So little pot with 3 little legs on it. You had a couple of those, didn't you? And then some things that, to be honest, looked like tops of, I don't know, pots or jars or cups. I don't know. So circular lead things with a hole through the middle. They didn't look like spindle walls or anything like that. But then you had a skull, didn't you?
We did.
A lead skull, which is with nothing on the back, so it does not mount or anything. Just a weird lead skull.
Which is about 6 inches by 8 inches, I'd say, something like that from the images. But yeah, very, very interesting. It's from a chap in Ellesmere Port, well, Little Sutton. I'm from Ellesmere Port. I know the area well. Sadly, my uncle was one of the town historians, and he lived very, very close and knew the location of these finds exceptionally well before the houses were built. Sadly, he passed away, so I can't glean that information from him, because I'm sure he would have been able to assist somewhere, even though they are quite peculiar. But they're related. They might be related. They were dug on in the garden, which is now over what used to be the road to a Georgian hall. So looking forward. If you watch the video at the end, you will see all 7. I think it's 7 images, which are with a tape measure as well to show size and such like. But very, very interesting nonetheless.
Very bizarre, almost like witchcraft.
A bit weird. Yeah, that's
one of the avenues because of my former hobbies and such like. I've been able to communicate with the relevant people to be able to answer that, which I'm still waiting on a affirmative or a negative as to what if they actually are. But there's lots of other people who've given lots of other ideas, but at the moment we're still stumped. We know what they are, we just don't know what they were. I think that's best in saying.
Yeah, it's a curious collection. They were all found together, weren't they? I think he said.
Yeah, so we could say it was a hoard because
little horde of
7, and he's doing doing it again on Sunday, the same area. So he did say to me as well that he found and it might be non-related. It might just be some animal bone or something, but he did find something 9 inches long by 2 inches width, bone-wise, a couple of years ago, about 2 meters away from the find spot. Which again, it could be something just normal like an animal bone, but then again, you could look at it the other potential avenue as well. We don't like to say a cult, but we can say a cult because it's a lovely word.
Makes it interesting.
It was almost like a child's sort of I don't know, satanic gift set. It's very small, that little cauldron. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, you do get that. You get toy cauldrons and toy plates and candlesticks and stuff. You do get those in the early post-med period. So they're not that surprising. It's just the skull is a bit weird, I must say.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been someone on acid in the 80s who'd done that out of lead. You just don't know, do you? It's what makes it so bizarre.
Yeah. I'm going to ask somebody in the chat room, can you tell us if we're still here? Reason being, Luke's just phoned me and his internet's gone down completely at home. So he doesn't know. That's why we weren't able to show the images and why in fact, he's ringing me again now.
Someone said the silence is deafening.
What does that mean?
No, Philip Willis. No, Pomsey said it's okay.
Thumbs up. You are live, Philip says.
Yes.
Hold on, Luke.
CC to text.
Well, listen, I'm back live at the moment. We are having issues technically, as we inevitably do. We are still here. While Luke's still on the air, I don't know if he'll be able to do it. If we thank Annie, etc., and
very much so.
It's been a fantastic show. Do you know, we haven't had many shows that have felt to have gone so quick. A lot of them do drag.
Yeah,
I know.
But that was just it was straight through. It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I've just looked at the time too. I didn't realise it was that late. No, thank you for having me, guys. It's been really nice, and I'm sure we'll catch up again.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Very much. You may note as well that we are currently doing some specials on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine website. On Monday nights at 6 o'clock, we are having Military Monday. So we've got some fresh articles from a new author appearing there. And on Friday, it's Fortean Fridays for the next several weeks. So we've got some sea monsters and such like by an author called Richard Freeman, which will be appearing on the website. So you need to look at them. Some fantastic work. Lots more coming our way. Next week, as I said, we got Stephen Taylor from World War II Relic Hunters. And I think thereafter, the week after, we've actually got a cancellation, sadly. But the 15th, we've got Kerry Fuller from the Lost Tapes of History podcast, which are fantastic audio plays, putting for instance, Henry the 4th today, hires a bodyguard. And last week's was Richard III and the tarot card reader. So fantastic audio plays, something I haven't heard before and very novel. The week after that, we've got James Baum, who is an archaeologist from the Northwest that Annie might know. He's got a YouTube channel, TV presenter for history, I think it is. And then the following week of that, the last week in April, we've got Otis Arms. So Luke's thingy, I'm going to try ringing Luke while we're just there to get him back on the normal phone to tell him it's best that we end the credits. If he can run it, I hope he can. So let me just ring him on his normal phone and hope it works there, because we might unfortunately therefore miss out. No, that's not happening. We might unfortunately miss out today on the readers' finds, but I will post them on the Big Detecting Show Facebook group, etc., on Sunday when my bands ends, or you can see them first thing tomorrow morning on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine website. You know, when you're talking, you haven't got a clue what you're doing.
Yeah, poor old Dave.
Right, it's ringing. I might connect now. So bear with me one moment and I can... Hi, Paul.
Annie, out of question, do a lot of flows monitor social media,
right, okay.
Instagram and Facebook for people's finds?
I don't think so much as monitoring. I know that a few...
No, sorry, not the word. Yeah,
yeah,
interest, I should say.
Yeah, I know a few flows.
I'll make sure that happens.
You know, members of Facebook groups, they've been invited by the moderators or whatever. It wasn't something I did because it was all pretty new back then.
Yeah.
I know quite a few flows that are welcome in the groups and help people ID stuff and say, oh, that's nice. Can you record it with me, sort of thing.
Because there are obviously
a lot of groups that don't want flows there, sadly.
Really? Oh. Yeah, because obviously they're not being paid for it. They're doing it in their own time, aren't they? So
yeah. To be honest, I think being a flow is a bit of a vacation, really. You sort of live and breathe it, and it is hard work, but it's very rewarding. And you meet some great people, and you see some great finds, and together we can change the history of a county or a parish. It's
we just need to set up funding for flows. We need to get more money. Yeah.
Or certain organisations can stop giving money away and hoarding money and offer some donations to them. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, we're going to end the show now. It's not going to be the usual ending of the show because Luke's got no internet. He can't see us. He knows the show's running, but he can't do anything with us. So myself, Adrian and Annie, we're all going to individually log ourselves out of the show. And the show might just continue running, but hopefully it won't with us all logging out. So, Annie, it's been a pleasure. Welcome back anytime. We loved having you tonight, and there's so much more we can still talk about.
Thanks both of you. It's been a real pleasure, and hi to everybody saying hello in the chat as well. Hopefully I'll be able to catch up with them at some point personally. So I'll disappear, but thanks guys for a nice evening. You take care.
Thanks, Annie. Have some gin.
Thanks, Annie.
Take care.
Bye.
Adrian, another fantastic show. What? Yes.
Yeah,
just
thanks, mate.
like
Yeah, I just sit here, scratch myself, and drink and.
Or not.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, all the viewers. Thank you for all coming this evening. I'm sorry for those who have missed it on my what I normally share the show to. I promise I won't get banned next week. And the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, which has also been restricted, will be back in your feeds on Facebook as of Monday the 28th, because there's a lot of people missed out on a lot of fantastic articles that have been and news stories that have been coming up in the past couple of weeks, haven't there, Adrian?
A lot, yeah, a hell of a lot, yeah. Head over there and check it out. It's like I said, Dave, every morning I wake up, click on the ArkMD app and sit and read, and even though I might be on the throne when I read it, but yeah, it's quite nice actually. I really feel like I'm in the pub tonight with no ending. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like I'm waiting to get a text to say to my wife, when are you coming home? Where are you? What's happened? Are you at the Chinese?
Or me and you are going to be still talking, and there's nobody else here but us.
Well, actually, we can have a look at the chat. We haven't talked about the NCMD last Facebook statement.
Well, Ponzi. I don't want to talk about anything political. I'm completely keeping impartial to it all. I could go on, but I'm not going to.
No.
People who know me personally know my views on the NCMD currently, but they're my own personal views, and I will keep them to myself.
I keep off the Book of Faces because I find I like metal detecting, and Facebook sometimes swerves you off that route of.
I know, yeah. Damn pictures of watching videos of cats and things. It's just.
Well,
makes you want to go out and get a cat to do stupid things with.
It's it's there. You can use it. For me personally, Detector Network, Instagram, they're places to go. But some people prefer Facebook. But
I can't get my head around Instagram. I still can't get my head around Instagram, and I can't get my head around Twitter. Chris from Diggers Dips talked me into setting up a big detecting show Twitter account last week. You can find us Big Detecting Show on Twitter. I can't get my head around tweeting either.
If you want to post your finds in a nice photographic surrounding, so let's say like this little fibula brooch thing, not fibula, Roman thing. If you want to post a nice picture of that on Instagram, so it's like, look what I found today, Instagram, and you might get 2 or 3 comments. It's just a nice place. If you want to start a discussion and chat, Twitter, massive, Facebook, the same, but you might end up with someone who's against metal detecting on Facebook.
Absolutely.
So, stick to your forums but yeah, it's one of them weird ones. No one else.
So again, apologies that we won't be playing the viewers' finds tonight. As I said, Luke's internet's gone down. I don't know how you're still seeing us, to be honest, but we are here. We're about to go. We have to log ourselves out. So as soon as myself and Adrian, if we decide to leave the studio, the show will be over. Don't know what happens then. I really don't. So just in case, turn off ourselves. Yes, pal.
Dave, the security guard just came in the studio and he said that he's here for another hour. So
yeah, but I go to bed normally. I usually go to bed at 6:30, 8:30 anyway.
Well, you heard that, didn't you?
That's that Roman bottle.
No, it's not Roman, but no, it's interesting. Simon Detecting Searcher said keep chatting. So
we'll have a little chat for a bit. Maybe answer some more. I'll tell you what then. Yeah, we'll keep going for a little bit. Any questions from yourselves? Yeah, do last orders, bell, Adrian. Last orders. If anyone who is left, we don't know who's there, but if you have any questions that for me or Adrian, please give us a shout. Now, one of the questions was about it was from Phil Wills about Hamilton and Carl coming on from Lost Relics of the Knights Templar. That's still in hand. I speak to them semi-regularly. Unfortunately, they have been the last few months, maybe a little bit longer, they have been filming. So as soon as they're back and able to, and Hamilton's in a place where he's able to get a decent reception, then we will be going ahead with that. It's just setting a date, but I can't promise Phil he will be coming on. Great pair of blokes. Carl actually only lives not far. I've been invited down to Hamilton's house to have a look around his museum. I've been invited up to Carl's, who lives in Knutsford, which is the next more or less big town to Congleton, to have a look at his classic cars and sporty Lamborghinis and motorbike collection.
Okay.
I know. Phenomenal. Absolutely.
Talking about sporting cars and Lamborghinis, have you been out with the McGrafter recently? Spade, shovel?
Went out last week. Absolutely love it, mate. Absolutely love it. As I said, I think I said last week, and I said to Paul as well, I give him feedback as far as I'm concerned that was right. It's fantastic. It digs a hole perfectly. It's so light. It's strong. I couldn't believe the strength. I've worked in carbon fiber in the aircraft industry, but obviously something down to that size it is totally different. And it's just for me. I've always had a stubby spade, which I've got a strap on and I carry over my shoulder.
Strap on.
Strap on.
Oh, sorry.
I have to bend down with my strap on to dig me out. Always ends up doing this every week, doesn't it? Bending over with my strap on, digging the hole with my little stubby spade, and it's a totally different way of digging a hole. Well, I'm having to currently, because I've got a strap on, I'm having to drag it along behind me, but you don't notice the weight. But then I realised, something is strong and high. I can use as a walking stick to aid me in muddy fields and what have you. But as well as that, it's a bit difficult for fat people with bad backs and knees like me, using it to actually force myself up. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I just like the whole, the way people probably don't know, but mcgrafter.co.uk, no product placement here, but the guy designed it because he had a serious accident and a back injury, and he loves detecting, and he couldn't dig with a normal spade. Not that it's not like a normal spade, it's exactly the same, but ridiculously lightweight and strong. And I have nightmares of me being in a wheelchair and not being able to detect. So having a spade that weighs probably the same as like a Simplex or a Knox is lovely. And I think he's looking at developing a strap to put it over your strap on, Dave. You loved strap-ons. And put it over your back or something like that. Just a quick question. Someone come up with what's happening in treasure hunting next month. I spoke to them today. There's lots of 96 pages again, but one of the things you can win a Quest Q60, and I shouldn't say this really, but if you just go on the Treasure Hunting magazine website now, click on competitions, you don't need to buy the magazine, you can actually enter online.
Can't say that.
Well, there's a like a crossword, and you've got to find a word. You've got to find all the words, and one of the words isn't in the crossword. And if you submit that through treasurehuntingmagazine.co.uk, you can go into a competition to win a Quest Q60, which I've currently been testing. So a very powerful machine. A lot of money, but very powerful machine.
Pomsey, I don't know if I'm still flying to Turkey. It's booked. It's paid for. It's the day after Detecticon ends for 10 days. Personally, I don't think it will be happening. It won't be till, hopefully next year. In fact, a lot of things that are still planned for this year, I still don't. I'm supposed to be going to May bank holiday, the second bank holiday. I'm supposed to be going to Anglesey for 4 days, doing my old archaeology week there. So, 4 days this time. Where are we now? Will Way, yes, I saw your, it looks like some form of cracked pipe from the Stone Age, so that was very interesting. Adrian, crack pipe.
Shaft.
No, it was a crack. It was a crack pipe.
Oh, crack pipe
from the Stone Age.
Sorry, I thought talking about cracks and shafts and strap-ons. I thought it was all getting.
Denise Jackman, she says the McGraftic spade is the best and the lightest spade she's ever used.
Yeah.
Or is that Len? Denise or Len?
You know, it isn't cheap, but when you're out in the field like me, I'll go out 8-10 hours at a time. If you've got something heavy, something you're unbalanced, and anyone who's done manual handling at work, risk assessments, you should have an even weight. So to have something weighing the same as a detector in one arm compared to the other, it really, really it makes a difference for me when I'm out detecting.
It is peculiar though, isn't it? Getting used to it is after so long I've had my stubby for 15 years. So getting used to that, it's mad.
It goes against physics because it's almost like trying to use the shaft of a matchstick to dig a hole. Carbon fibre. what? I'm nearly 50, Dave, and you're nearly what 62. So we grew up. Carbon fibre was something that was on tomorrow's world, and then suddenly it came into sort of Formula One cars and aerospace. We've never really. We get the odd Chinese thing that says it's carbon fibre, like a wing mirror, and it's got a bloody wrap on it. But it's not until you actually get hold of some high level, which it is. McGrafter is high end carbon fibre, graphite fibre, whatever it is. Carbon fibre, isn't it? You realise how light it is, and you think it's going to snap. It's going to snap. It's going to snap. You do, don't you? When you're digging, Dave, with it, you think, and you get a bit of a bend. But then, but let's move on from spades.
Can I just say with that, though, one of the people I know who's the most qualified to comment on that is Graham Dempsey from the Composite Cleaning Pencil. And obviously his background is in composite engineering. He bought one straight away. He took it apart. He's put it back together. He's bent it. He's shaken it. He's done everything you can. And he's well happy with it himself. And that's from a composite engineer.
I forgot about that because Graham cleaning pencil.
Composite cleaning pencil.
You've written it down. You look down then.
No, I haven't. It's on a stick. Yeah. He sent me a load of stickers to stick everywhere.
But Graham, he's like proper high end consultancy. He knows his composites, so that's nice to hear. Actually, that's nice to hear. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a bloke in his shed making things to help detectorists and people who've
with more products coming soon.
Yeah. Funds allowing, more people buy the spade. That's what he needs. He don't make a lot of money, so if you want to stand out in a detective or somewhere like that with your Equinox 800 with turbo stickers on it and everything, and you want to have
snake wrap on your cord. Don't forget your snake wrap. Oh, that's nice, mate. It's beautiful. That I like that.
Snake skin. I was going to send them to you. Yeah, all your snake skins and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, listen, Adrian, I'm going to bed because look at my eyes. I'm falling asleep as we speak. So at the bottom of our screen, you'll see Leave Studio, a red circle with a cross in it. I presume we press that. Normally, I just turn the computer off, but. Anyway, for those who have stayed with us for the last 10 minutes or so, thank you indeed. Apologies we can't play that video. I will actually make it available now on YouTube. If you go to ArchMDMag on YouTube, I'll make that available to watch now. But as I said, it'll be on the website in the morning as well. That's a good idea of me then, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'd like to say hats off to everyone in the chat, because they're still here and they're still talking. It's really nice. So thank you very much. I'll probably carry on just talking to the webcam till about 11:30 and then realise there's no one there. But no, thanks ever so much. It means a lot, doesn't it, Dave? People watching.
And as I've actually made that live on the ArchMDMag. It's actually ArchMDMag TV, so you'll find it on there. And there are some phenomenal finds, especially in my opinion, the hoard with the skull and the cauldrons and such like. And if anyone can offer any feedback as what they potentially are,
look at that.
Appreciate that. So thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Good night to you all. Good night, Adrian, and I'll speak to you shortly. Take care, pal. Good night, everyone.
Night, Dave. See ya. Bye.
Ta-da.
I think I pressed the X button. Night, everyone.